Alright, at it again. We're doing a fork job today. I'm not going to go over the specifics of removing the fork legs. That varies from model to model. I'm just going to go right into disassembling, cleaning, and installing new seals. This will be on a Springfield, but this procedure and these forks are the same for all the big 111 bikes. And first thing I'm going to do is pop the fork cap off, flip her upside down, and let her drain. And these K&L fork leg clamps are amazing. They slide into the end of my lift and lock into place. Once they're drained, set up your fork spring compressor. Install the leg in there. Run the spring down to expose the nut, the fork cap nut. Bust those loose. Then go ahead and remove the fork cap and the washer. And just be a little cautious because now the tooling is the only thing holding the spring in. And have some nice clean rags set up ready to put all your parts on. Unwind the pressure from the spring and then remove it from the tooling. Go ahead and slide the spring out. It's going to have some oil on it, so have your drain pan handy. And now we're ready to install our cartridge shaft tool. It's just going to get in there and hold the shaft while we loosen the drain bolt. And yes, you can use an impact. Yes, people do it all the time. But if I have the right tool, I'm going to go ahead and use the right tool. And once again, these K&L fork leg holders are clutch. They're so helpful. And then grab your long 8mm Allen and go ahead and bust it loose. It shouldn't be too hard if it wasn't ran in with an impact. It's only 17 foot-pounds anyway. If it didn't fall out, grab a magnet, snag the bolt out of there, and toss that copper washer. We're going to be replacing it. And now we're ready to take the cartridge out. Careful when you do, it's going to bleed out a lot of fluid. Have your drain pan there. I try to pump it a few times to get the excess out before I place it on my clean rags. And now we're ready to take the seals apart. Go ahead and grab a little pocket screwdriver, flathead, pop off the dust seal, pop the snap ring out. And with the snap ring out, we're ready to take the tube out. Just slide it up a couple good hard times and the tube should pop right out of the fork leg. Remove the little plastic oil lock valve from the bottom of the fork leg and remove the rest of the bushings from the fork tube. And this is a step that I feel like a lot of people don't take the time to do. I personally don't feel right putting new fork oil into a dirty fork leg. So take a minute, even if you don't have a nice wash tank, find whatever you can use to get in there and wipe out the tube and get it all nice and clean before you put new fork oil back in. Get it all wiped up nice and pretty. I do a little trick here, not much of a trick, but I just want to get the inside dry. So I just stuff a rag, get a long screwdriver, and buff the inside clean. Nice and shiny. Same thing with the fork tube. Wipe it down, stuff the rag inside, get it all nice and dry, nice and clean. Just like cleaning your rifle. And take the rest of the parts and clean them all up. Get the old fork fluid off there, get them nice and dry, ready for new fork fluid. Nice and pretty. And don't forget to wash your little oil lock valve. It's usually pretty filthy. And be careful, it has a little spring inside of it that's very, very easy to lose. Whatever you're cleaning it with, make sure you either take it out or make sure it doesn't fall out. Very easy to fall out. Alright, now we'll go ahead and put our new washer on our drain plug. It's a copper washer. And first thing I do is I put that oil lock valve down in the fork leg. The bottom of the fork leg is recessed, so it'll fit perfectly in its own little circle down there. Give it a little tap, make sure it's lined up. Then go ahead and slide the fork tube with the bushings and just the washer for now. So I just wanted to put this shot in real quick just to clarify the order of this. There's one bushing on the end of that fork leg, a second bushing, the washer, and then that oil seal. So use your seal driver to drive down the washer and bushing first. Then, being very careful, install the oil seal and then go ahead and drive it down with the same seal driver. And if you haven't done it, it's fairly obvious to when you are driving it down, when it's bottomed out. You can hear the sound. It'll be hollow, hollow, and then a good thud. And it's usually a good indication that that's as far as down as it's going to go. And also, the snap ring will not fit in its groove if the oil seal is not far enough down too. So, once we got all the new seals in, we're ready to put our cartridge back in. It's just a cool shot of the tooling and how it works. Locks into the top of it. So go ahead and drop in the cartridge. Install our tooling. And we'll go ahead and put the washer that we already put on from a previous step. Sorry about that. And this is pretty important. If you cannot start this drain plug by hand, if it doesn't thread in at least all the way in with ease by hand, something is not right. It wouldn't hurt to take the cartridge back out and make sure everything's jiving in there. And go ahead and torque it at 17 foot-pounds, plus or minus a couple, depending on how you're feeling. Fill up 350 cc's of Indian fork fluid. Fill her up and then bleed her. 350 cc's is just what it calls for the bleeding process. That's not your final amount. And look at that, nice and pretty. Now the first step for bleeding, I like to extend the fork tube, push it down with my hand on top, and then hold it for a couple seconds and then slowly let the air out. And then go ahead and screw on the cartridge adapter. I forget the actual name for this. It's just a really cool long rod that threads onto the cartridge and allows you to easily bleed it, just like so. And you want to bleed it until you feel like the cartridge has really smooth resistance. And now we're ready to set the oil level, the final oil level. I just fill it up pretty high because we're going to suck it out anyway to the proper level. And the height is 136 millimeters. So if you have a fork oil level tool, it's very easy to set the height with it. So fill up the fork leg, install the tool, and set the oil level. And really sorry about these dark shots. The light coming in from the outside really ruined these shots when I'm facing this way. So our fluid is good to go. We'll take our fork spring, tight coil side down. Install the spring. Once the spring's in, we're going to put our cartridge adapter back on. We're going to pull the cartridge up, install the fork back in our fork tool. We're going to compress the spring back down, which is going to allow us to reinstall our fork cap and torque that to spec with our nut. Put our washer back on, and then we're going to get a fork cap, run it down. And you want to tighten the nut to the cap. So run the cap all the way down and then run the nut back up to the cap. And torque it to spec. Then run the tooling back up and take the compression off the spring and take the fork leg out of the tooling. And all we got left to do is tighten the cap to the tube. I use this little Palm 3/8 ratchet drive. Really helpful. You can get a good grip on the cap. And here's a shot of my ugly mug. I like to bring up the fork leg to the cap and then tighten them both simultaneously. If you feel any resistance, those threads are aluminum and very soft. Nice and easy, do not strip those. And that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. I know I ran through that fairly fast, so if you have any questions, please feel free to drop a comment. And if you do like these videos, please stay tuned. I got some more in the works. As you can see, stage 3 big bore 1/16 kit. Should be a fun one. Thanks again, guys.